If we go back in time and see how humans started, where we were living in caves and hunting animals and having basic tools, and how we slowly started to change, to learn new skills, to develop languages, to build civilization, to start wars at some point, and where kingdoms rose to power and fell and other kingdoms took their place. And then in the last 200 or 300 years, we start developing so fast that now we have technology and we have more security and more safety, things that we take for granted sometimes. We who are living in this moment are very different than the people who used to live. All of the events that happened in the past, whether these events are good or bad, they shaped our lives right now. Everything led to this moment. When we think about it close enough though, the past is actually only in our heads. We have evidence to prove that things happened in the past, like all of the different books and artifacts and stories, all the different things that show there used to be other humans in the past. There used to be other people who lived their whole lives in a very different era to where we are now. But we can't really be in these moments. We can't really live them. We can only imagine them. We can't even go back to where we were when we were younger. We have memories how we used to live, the things that happened to us, but we can't really live them again. There is no way to go even 1 second to the past to change anything that we do. So the past is really just thoughts and memories that we think about. And the same is true about the future. The future didn't happen yet, but we spend so much time in our heads trying to imagine the future. We build different scenarios, we have different expectations. Whether we are thinking about an interview we have to do or a future vacation, we have different conversations, we build complete stories and spend so much time in this imaginary world that we think will happen. And no matter how much you try to predict things in the future, it's never really gonna happen the way you think they do, because you don't have control on everything around you. And things will always be different. Sometimes we also imagine how people will react to things that we're going to do or going to say, and then we realize that their reaction were really different. So spending so much time in the past and in the future can cause a lot of problems to us. A lot of mental health problems are caused by thinking too much about the future and the past. Let's think about anxiety and depression, for example. Anxiety is basically fearing something that's gonna happen to the future. We might have a flight to another country and we're afraid that the plane is gonna fall down. And what's really happening in our heads is that we imagine ourselves in the plane and something wrong is going on, and seeing the plane falling down, imagining ourselves dying, falling from the plane, things that probably won't happen. But we feel that they are real, that they are really gonna happen. And with depression, with a lot of cases, people are dwelling in the past. Something really bad has happened and they can't seem to move on, to focus on the moment and trying to change things right now, trying to change their beliefs or behaviors, to stop living the way they are living and realizing that they have more potential, trying to see things from different perspectives instead of thinking in that same way. These are things that I suffered from for a long time. I used to have a lot of anxiety and I had a depressive phase, and I do still suffer from anxiety. So I was really afraid of my future, thinking that things are never gonna change, that my life will never change, that I'm gonna be stuck in my way forever, and this is how my life is gonna continue. And I was thinking about bad things that happened to me when I was growing up, defining myself by these things that were just memories. And just because they happened, it doesn't mean that they're gonna happen again. So many problems are caused by being so often in our heads. Most people spend more time in their heads than in reality. in the moment with the people around you, with the events that are happening around you. And there are a lot of ways to be more often in the moment. And the two that I think are most important for people to adapt are meditation and flow state. Of course, there's a lot of different ways to meditate. The meditation I want to talk about is mindfulness meditation. The thing is, with meditation, it is something that have been rising to the mainstream in the last years, and more people are starting to adapt it in their lives because people are realizing the vast benefits from it. When you're meditating with your eyes open or closed, you sit still and you focus on the sensations that are happening in your body, or the sounds that are happening around you, the birds that are singing, the wind or the rain, all the different sounds. And you start observing your thoughts coming. Our thoughts are not things that we can control. Our thoughts come to us by themselves, but we can choose to focus on them or not. Our thoughts are like when we are sitting in a train station and there are different trains that are coming and going the whole time. What most of us usually do most of the times is that a train comes and then we ride it and go with it. And in the same way, a thought comes to us. Maybe it's a dark thought, maybe it's a negative thought, maybe it's from the past, something you don't really want to think about. But you still follow the thought. It comes to you and you ride it. And then that thought will lead you to another thought. And then it's a train of thought that is never ending and you're stuck in a different loop, and that's how you become more and more depressed, more anxious. So what we can do instead, we observe the trains, we see them passing by, but not really engaging with them. So we see our thoughts, all of the different thoughts, the negatives, the positives, we see them passing by and we make the choice which thoughts to focus on, or maybe not focus on any thought, just letting them pass and focus more on the things that are happening around us outside of our heads. So that's why practicing meditation can be really beneficial, so that we can learn to disengage from our thoughts and also to disengage from our emotional reactions to these thoughts, to just be an observant. The second thing is flow state, and flow state is when we are engaged in something that we really enjoy doing. It's the state when you're playing video games and you're having an intense match with your friends and you're about to win or lose, or it's when you are with someone who you really love and you're spending time with them and nothing else matters and you don't feel the time anymore. Or it is a feeling when you're someone playing in a band, in a live show in front of thousands of fans. All you're focused on is making your best to play a good show. And flow state is not necessarily something that we can choose when we want to have it. It's something that comes to us while we are doing the things we want to do. The more we love the thing that we're doing, the more often we will be in flow state. That's why it's very important to work in a profession that you have a passion for, something that you really enjoy, because it means that you will be more often in the moment. Because we spend so much time every day in our jobs, and if it's a job that we don't love, it means that we are more disengaged from it, being more in our heads. So it's really important to realize the things that you want to do, the things that brings you enjoyment, so that you can be more often in this flow state that will give you more meaning and will make you feel more alive. Being in the moment is the only way to be alive. It's the only way to experience life. You can't really experience it in the past. You can't experience it in the future. That's only imagining. It's just an imaginary world that is not really happening. Our generation and the next generations, we are the ones that have and will have a lot of different mental issues, like anxiety, like depression, things that people in the past didn't really have because they didn't have the luxury. We have so much freedom now and so many different options, and all our basic needs are met, that what we do is we fear so many things. We fear for our security, we fear for being a failure, we fear of not being as good as others, and that's why we spend so much time in our heads. Things that people in the past didn't really have the time for. They had to survive every day. They had to hunt animals and to run from animals. They were living in danger every day. So they had to live in the moment. It was their only option. And it is the thing that is really missing in our lives right now because of all the different luxuries that we have. Now, of course, I'm not saying that we live in an era that is worse than before. It's actually the opposite. We live in the best era for humanity. But there are still drawbacks. There are still side effects to all of these developments. The biggest side effect is that we lose ourselves and we lose the moment. Now, all of the things I mentioned about the past and the future and that they don't exist, it is not something that is scientifically proven. It is just something abstract that I was thinking about, and it made sense for me, especially after I started meditating a year ago and I started reading a lot about meditation and about flow state and being in flow state and actually feeling more alive than when I was having anxiety and depression and spending more time in my imagination. And the thing is, with time, we see it as a line that is flowing forward, that things happen in the past and will happen in the future, and the line will keep going and going. But that is only our comprehension of it. In another dimension, or for other beings that we don't know of, maybe they see time in a different way. Maybe time is really an object that connects the past and the future in a way where everything that happened and will happen is happening at the same time. There is no past, there is no future, there is only this one spot, one place where everything is happening at the same time. It is just that our brains can't really comprehend everything the way it is in reality. We don't even really know if we are in reality, if what we see is the real thing. There is no way to make sure of that. It is only what our brains are generating. But since this is the way we comprehend time, I think it makes sense that the past and the future are things that are not in our control whatsoever. What we only really have is this moment, and make it change only right now. If you want to decide to do something important, to do good, to help someone, to change our career, to go somewhere else, we need to make the decision right now. Only that will lead us to the future. The future hasn't happened yet. What we do now will make it happen. It will only happen because of our choices and decisions right now. Now, of course, it is still important to be cautious of things that might happen, of danger. And it's also important to remember things that shaped us, our past mistakes, our experiences, because these are things that make us grow when we compare ourselves to the things we used to know and the things that we know now and how we know things differently. The solution is not really to completely ignore the past and the future, doing anything without any careful consequences. That's absolutely not what I mean here. And we can't even actually be all of the time in the moments. There will always be moments where we are thinking about the past and the future. So the goal here is to spend as much time as possible in the moment, to always seek that, to always reminding ourselves to come back to the present moment every time we get distracted by thoughts that we don't really want. Because that's the way to actually enjoy our lives more and feel more alive.